Forgiveness is for you. It's not for the other person, and it is not to excuse other people's behaviors that wronged you, that hurt you, that enraged you, that were offensive. Like that's not what forgiveness is.
What is keeping this anger serving you? Because it's not going to change what the person did. It's not going to change, the outcome of what happened. But it's going to let go of the shackle that's keeping you stuck to the story. Hey everybody, this is Bianca.
And this is Emilia.
And welcome to another magical, wonderful, beautiful, amazing episode, oh my goodness, of Evolve Ventures, where we are making evolution possible for growth-minded humans just like every single one of you through vulnerable lessons, stories, and technology. Last episode, number 155, it was a Motivation Monday, and we were talking about the biggest thing, keeping you stuck. And honestly, I think that one really ties in well to this episode, number 156. Forgiveness is for you, not the other person. And I will go into the why underneath that in just a minute. But I really want to lay the scene of where this episode came from. So I was, full honesty, I was kind of ranting to Emilia about this when the idea came up. Because it really threw me. It really threw me when this happened. So for those of you who don't know, or for those of you who do, along with doing everything for Evolve Ventures and this business and the podcast, I also work as a clinical mental health counselor. So I see anywhere between 5 and 8 clients every single day, working one-on-one with them. For an organization, on top of the coaching that I do and everything. And a few months ago, my supervisor was like, hey, I've been seeing this client for over a year now. I can't get through to him. Would you be willing to take him on? I know you have a much more direct approach than I do. I know you do CBT. You might be able to get through to him. Would you be open to it? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. No problem. So she sends him over to me. We're working together. And I usually take time to learn the person first before I just start trying to give advice and whatever. Because I used to do that before and it doesn't work. You got to know the person before you try really giving them any piece of feedback. So I'm learning about him and he's telling me about his life and he's telling me about how I need to keep anonymity, but basically he was just in a marriage that was not good, and his wife ended up really doing some shady things. I'll just leave it at that. And so
his ex-wife.
His ex-wife. They've been divorced for 2 years now, or they've been separated for 2 years, and he's been going through this whole process. So I'm on a call with him a couple of weeks ago, and we're having this conversation about everything that's been going on. And I gotta be honest, I was going nuts because he just, I feel so deeply for him. But kind of to the last point that we were making in last episode, you have to be ready, willing, and able to change if you really want to.
Yeah.
And he's just not there yet. So we're talking and he's like, I'm miserable. He's like, my kids want nothing to do with me. I have nothing. My life is horrible. This horrible woman that I was married to did all these terrible things to me. And, no one loves me and blah, 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 right? And I just felt for him, and he was crying, and he's in his 50s, so it's kind of difficult for a 50-year-old man to cry to a 28-year-old girl, right? Well, I'm not a girl, but a 28-year-old woman. And he's just so vulnerable. And he's like, I need to change. And I said, I'll call him John. I was like, John, do I have permission to be really frank with you right now? And he said, yeah, please. And I said, you and I have been seeing each other for a few months. We've had the same session over and over and over again. You say the same thing every time you come in here. And anytime I try to give you any piece of feedback, you just come at me with a rebuttal of why it's not possible, why you can't do it, why this, why that. And I said, do you really want to know how to move on? Do you really want to know how to move forward? And he said, yes, I need to. My health is starting to get impacted by this. And I said, okay, you're not going to like the answer. And he's like, okay. And I paused for a second. I did that therapist pause, right? I was like, ooh, I'm all in it. So I paused for a second and I said, you need to forgive your ex-wife and you need to let go. And he was enraged. He's like, I will never forgive her. She's a horrible woman. She did all of this terrible stuff to me. No, that's not the answer. I'm not going to forgive her. You need to give me another tool to be able to move on without having to do that. And I looked him dead in the eye and I said, then you're going to stay like this forever. And he was shook, like honestly shook. Like I rattled his cage. And he just kept at it. I'm not changing. I'm not going to do that. She doesn't deserve my forgiveness. Why? She ruined my life. And I said, I know. I hear you. She did some terrible things to you. But you forgiving her is not to say what she did was okay. And everyone listening, I really want you to hear this. This is the important component. I said, you forgiving her is not for her. It's not to say that what she did was okay. It's so you can let go and move on. Guys, when we hold on to anger, when we hold on to that pain, when we hold on to that resentment, and this is not me saying I've mastered this, because there's a lot of people in my life that I'm still learning how to forgive. It's not that I'm perfect at this, but I understand it. And that's why I'm working on doing it. When you hold on to that anger and that pain, it does nothing to the other person. All it does is corrode you and your health and your heart and your ability to move on and let go and live the life that you are capable of living, that you have the potential to live. When you're holding on to that anger, all you're doing is jeopardizing yourself. And to the point of the last episode, you have to be ready for it. You have to be ready to let go. You have to be ready to move on and work through whatever is keeping you stuck there. Whether it's, pain or the certainty of this client of getting validation from everyone, that everyone is saying, oh, I feel so bad for you. Oh my God. And he's getting love and attention and significance and validation from that.
Yeah.
What is keeping this anger serving you? Because it's not going to change what the person did. It's not going to change, the outcome of what happened. But it's going to let go of the shackle that's keeping you stuck to the story. That's keeping you stuck in the place that you're in your life, which is pain and hurt and anger and frustration. And believe me, I have been there. The rage and the anger and the resentment and honestly the hatred I had for my ex-girlfriend, it was erosive. Erosive, what's the word?
I think both are quite applicable, honestly.
Yeah.
It erodes you, it corrodes you.
Yeah. I hated her. Honestly, full transparency, I did. I felt so manipulated. I felt so taken advantage of. And when I lost my dog, right, I was enraged. And all it did was keep me feeling miserable. that's it. It kept me miserable. And it's taken me time to work through that and process that and forgive her, like really forgive her and move forward. But the change that made in my life, it wasn't for her. I never told her I forgive her. I forgave her for me, so that I can move on, so that I can live a happy life and attract an extraordinary partner when I do. And to be here for my business and be here for my clients and everyone and everything that I get to do in this world and in this life that I have. That's why you forgive. It's not for the other person's benefit. It's for your own. And yeah, maybe that's selfish. But the world is a better place when you do that. And your world will be a better place when you do that.
So true. Because like, think about it. Like, think about the loop and the cycle that he's in. Now his health is being impacted. So now his misery is just exponentializing.
It's compounding.
And it's compounding. It's affecting everyone around him. And now some people like probably feel a degree of responsibility to have to take care for him. And just it's just irresponsible to not.
His entire family's sick of him. Literally everyone has said like, stop talking to us about this. Like, we're done. We're sick of hearing it.
Yeah. Makes sense. It's like, when someone goes through a breakup and they just continuously, like, everyone's probably had that friend where they go through the same exact cycle and nothing changes, and you open your heart up to your friend and you help give them advice and give them guidance when they ask you for it. And then you realize after like the third time, they were never actually listening. Otherwise they would heed that guidance and things would look a little bit different. And after a while, you just start to numb out, right? As a bystander, because you don't feel like you can do anything. You feel helpless, right? Helpless to help the other person actually effect change in their life. And so, I don't know if anyone was visualizing this when Bianca was talking, but I certainly was. And when it comes to forgiveness, I think that I see personally, to like bring this into imagery for anyone who's like a visual learner, that visualizations help them get through things. I imagined a giant ball of fire, like one that you can hold in your hands. And like, I want you to imagine that even like, no matter what, this ball of fire will continue to just like blaze flames and destroy anything in its path. What people do when they do not choose to forgive is they swallow that ball of fire to that corrosion part. And that ball of fire, that like, it's still blazing flames. So it's corroding you from the inside out. And if you could imagine it, it starts in your throat, but then it starts to kind of work its way down, and then it lodges in your heart. And it just enrages you when you do not work to forgive. And so that corrosive visualization, I think, is whatever your ball of fire is, whatever you get so enraged about, right? Someone did you wrong, other person did something bad and you hated it and you felt like it was directly inflicted at you. To your point, B, and I really want to highlight that for this episode. It is for you. Forgiveness is for you. It's not for the other person, and it is not to excuse other people's behaviors that wronged you, that hurt you, that enraged you, that were offensive. Like that's not what forgiveness is. Forgiveness really is for you to remove that ball of fire and to transform it into an energy that you can realize is now a part of you. It's just like the visualization of scars, right? Scars become a part of us. And you start to kind of look at your scars from a different space of appreciation and of healing. Forgiveness is just like that. Only you can't see those scars. They're emotional scars, but they still need to heal, right? So
100%.
That's this is this strikes home, and I know, you and I were talking about that a little bit right before this episode, and you really do. You got to be willing to change, and some people are just so afraid of change, and I get it. Like, it is scary, right? To forgive someone that has, in your mind, done so much harm to your life. for you to forgive, it's almost like I've seen people shift the degree of ownership that they never want to take, because it takes two to tango. They don't want to forgive because they actually have to face that they made a decision to let that person into their life. They made a decision to give that person their keys. They made the decision to continue with the relationship. They made that decision to have children, right? They actually have to face their part of it.
We got to start wrapping up, but I think the challenge is that it's not that people don't face it, it's that they get stuck there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, I did this terrible thing. Oh my God, I can't believe I did this. I'm such an idiot, blah, 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 blah. It's what you're focusing on and it's what you're telling yourself about it. It's the meaning that you're making of it. For the longest time, with that relationship and with every relationship prior to that, I made the dumbest choices. Oh my God. Like, I really did. I made the most terrible choices. And I was just stuck there. That's why I couldn't let go.
Yeah.
It was when I finally was able to break through that. And this was not in one instance. This was in coaching call after call after call after inner work, like a ton of work on myself, where I really said, okay, I did this. Yeah. I did. Why? I got to the root of it and then I worked through that. Not to shame, not to blame, not to guilt, not to make myself a bad person. But you have to understand what happened and why, and then not stay there. Then you move forward and you start to change and do that inner work. So, to everyone listening here, final takeaway, title of this episode, forgiveness is not for them, it is for you. And the way you start to do that is by understanding the hurt, understanding what happened, forgiving them, and then working through that pain of what's next.
My final takeaway is count the blessings of people that are in your life that encourage forgiveness and encourage acceptance. Genuinely, we might not see it in the moment, but they are absolute blessings because they see the ball of fire that you have and that you swallowed, and they're trying to help you do the Heimlich. And they are blessings. So my episode suggestion is 135, turn your losses into lessons. B, what's yours?
Big goodie. 53, how are you showing up for life's pivotal moments?
So good. Thank y'all for joining us in this conversation that got so beautifully deep. And B, I appreciate you sharing all the things about you and your journey.
The things. Yeah, man.
All the things.
We hope this episode was valuable. We hope that you can take away from this. We love all of you, and we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.